Precious Mosley.
And I'm Lilia Jones. Thank you so much for joining us today on
The Bold Way, the show where confidence grows and resilience finds its voice. Here we honor the stories of ACC students, their victories, their courage, their challenges, and the powerful journeys in between.
Yeah, because we talking about in it. Every episode, we're getting into the nitty-gritty of each story we hear. We don't want just results. We want the steps to success. And this is the show where that pulls through.
On our episode today, we are talking about public safety. Now, when you hear public safety, it can mean a lot of different things.
Right.
For some, it could be about feeling secure on campus. For others, it can be about transportation awareness or being able to move through your day with a sense of security.
Right, and as college students here at ACC, those experiences can look very different depending on who you are and what you've been through.
Yes, exactly. So today we are breaking that down and talking about what public safety really means in our everyday lives.
We'll be getting into campus safety, public transportation, and overall awareness because all of that plays a role in how we feel safe.
But before we get into that, let's start on a positive note. Crime rates in Austin actually declined in 2025.
Clock it. Love to hear it. Good job, Austin. This information came from an article KUT published stating that crime rates across the board have dropped, which is a great way to start this conversation. For me, public safety has always been a key memory of mine since I was a young girl. I did Taekwondo, and I was a black belt by the age of 5. I also taught myself more styles of self-defense like MMA.
A black belt at the age of 5? Girl, oh my God. I mean, that is very, very impressive. So in your eyes, how does martial arts connect to public safety?
Yeah, so martial arts provided me the ability to defend myself out of a situation. Funny story, me and my family were visiting Arkansas when I was around 5 years old, and my aunt, who barely knew me, well, who I barely knew technically, picked me up, and my dad said stranger danger, and I took her down. I was like, ah, 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 ah. And I kid you not, I landed in a superhero pose, and I was like, yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot believe you took your aunt down, girl. That's
I
insane.
sure did.
Oh
and
God.
I was prepared to defend myself. And what about you? What does public safety mean to you?
Well, I guess for me, I mean, I don't own a car, so I'm constantly thinking about my surroundings and the community I'm stepping into.
Right.
And just being aware of what's happening in my vicinity.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking around, trying to stay up on my phone, looking people in the face like,
Right.
do you need that? You know?
Get into it.
Overall, yeah, that's what it means to me.
Yeah,
So.
and not having a car can be quite challenging. So in your words, what are some things that you have found to keep you safe getting around town?
Man, I mean, I definitely keep pepper spray on me. That is number one, 401, have pepper spray.
Yeah.
I'm always off my phone. If I have my headphones on, I keep them at a low volume.
Yeah.
So I can just still hear what's going on around me pretty much.
That's
so
good. That's smart.
Do that.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
Always be aware of your surroundings. It's
Yeah.
super important. You got to keep an eye out for Selena. You know, public safety is such a broad topic. We have a lot more to dive into, so let's get into it.
I want to start by talking about something everybody needs to think about every day. Your awareness when you're out in the world. I don't mean being afraid, but being tuned into your environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like knowing your surroundings when you're walking, waiting for a ride, or even just sitting outside, it's a skill.
It is. And my mom drilled this into me early. She always said, walk with a purpose.
Right.
Even if you don't know exactly where you're going, don't walk like you're lost or distracted or someone is bound to mess with you.
Right, that's good advice. And I heard that periodically throughout my life as well. How you carry yourself, it really does matter.
It absolutely does. I mean, I just feel you're less likely to have someone approach you if you look like you're headed somewhere with a purpose. So like I mentioned earlier, I carry pepper spray, but not because I expect someone to mess with me, but because I want to make sure I'm good if someone is feeling like they need that.
Right. Exactly, and that totally makes sense. Carrying anything with you can help you with your what if moments.
Right, and although Austin crime rates went down last year, there are still crimes happening almost every day,
Facts.
all over town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is such an important reminder that even in places that feel super familiar, things can get really intense and escalate quite quickly.
Definitely, and what most people don't understand is that you don't have to be in a dark alleyway or in a high crime area for something like that to happen.
Exactly.
Situations can happen anywhere, even around campuses, bus stops, or apartment complexes where students are used to walking.
Yeah, and that's where the free Green Pass is kind of helpful. Do you know what the Green Pass is?
I do. But for those of you who don't, the Green Pass lets students ride CAP Metro buses and trains for free without having to walk long distances alone. That matters especially later in the evening. If you don't know about the Green Pass, check out austincc.edu/Green Pass to find out more information. For the most part, the buses are pretty clean and pretty close to being on time. I walk about 6 minutes from my house to my bus stop, and then I hop on 2 buses to get to Highland. It takes me around 30 minutes, but I'm saving so much money because I use my Green Pass, and I don't have a car payment, and I don't need car insurance, and I don't need to pay for gas.
Right.
So she's
Facts. Good. Yeah, and another thing is being around other people if you can. Just being in a public space, even if you're waiting alone, it can make you more aware and comfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, it also helps to stay off your phone when you're walking, too. You miss so much when you're looking down or have your earbuds in.
Yo, absolutely. Staying present lets you notice things that you otherwise might have missed. For some of y'all might have missed on missing 3 nails. Because safety isn't just about reacting. It's about being prepared in small ways.
Speaking of preparation, campus safety plays a big role on how secure we feel here at ACC. Seeing campus police around, seeing them patrol, it gives me a sense that someone is looking out for us.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel pretty safe in a community college environment. It feels structured, and people are expected to be there to learn and support each other, so I don't have many concerns.
Yeah, and ACC has a lot of systems in place that back up the feeling of safety. There's an emergency management, alert systems, and even emergency preparedness events. And any type of emergency happens on campus, ACC will text, email, and even post on social media, so that way so many more people can see and be aware of what is happening at ACC.
And ACC has departments with certifications for things like police, firefighters, and EMS.
Yes.
That means trained professionals are literally being educated here. I mean, I also had a moment in time where I wanted to work on reporting and crime.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I always lean towards investigative journalism.
Yeah.
I loved watching the Inside Edition, This House is Watching You with Lisa Guerrero. Love her, by the way. She rigs this house in New Jersey with cameras to catch home repair men overcharging and scamming homeowners.
Wow.
I could definitely see myself doing something like that. I also watch a lot of true crime on YouTube.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like Stay Awake, all caps, is one of my favorite YouTube channels, so check them out if true crime interests you.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty sick, honestly. So, fun fact, actually, I love psychology and forensic classes in high school where we studied people and actual crimes. I loved all of that. I wanted to be a medical examiner, and at one time, I wanted to be a mortician. I know, that's crazy. I just was so interested in to know how the human mind and why it changes. I also wanted to go to Sam Houston because they have a great criminal justice program, but because I didn't want to get my doctorate degree, I decided to learn about anatomy on my own time. So, yeah.
Yeah, got you. We love fun facts, girl, especially unique ones. Something else I'd like to touch on is street safety, stoplights, crosswalks, awareness of distracted drivers, and all of that matters. Drivers do not always pay attention.
That is facts.
They don't.
Y'all, please, look left, look right, look left again before you cross anything.
Yes, and now, guys, let's talk about everyone's favorite, 6th Street. I'm out there a lot, okay? And I have seen firsthand how dangerous it can be on busy nights.
Facts.
Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you never leave your drink unattended or get super drunk on that street, because it always happens to people who never thought it could literally happen to them.
Right.
Try to leave before midnight. Avoid any physical altercations at all costs. And now that 6th Street has changed, cars can drive there again. It affects how safe people feel when they walk that area at night. Like I said before, you have to watch out for yourself, scooters, and now cars.
Right. You know, technology is really starting to change safety as well. Self-driving cars like Waymo might reduce the fear of having to deal with an awful driver, but Waymo isn't perfect either. I mean, I've heard that people think Waymos drive aggressively, and their navigation is often way off, like drives through people's apartment parking lots, and that takes really odd turns. But overall, it definitely is better than having to deal with some weird Uber drivers.
Very, very true. But I've been in a Waymo before, and in my experience, they've driven pretty safe. There's a story of a girl driving next to a Waymo on a scooter.
Yeah.
And she fell off her scooter towards the Waymo, and the Waymo moved out of the way in time, which I just found really impressive for a driverless car.
Yeah, I actually saw that TikTok. It was really cool. And something else that is taking over this entire country is fentanyl.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel like I hear about fentanyl overdoses every single week.
Right.
It's extremely bad right now.
It is extremely bad. I had a friend who passed away from fentanyl poisoning. He was such a bright light in this world, but even as he's not here anymore, his story can still save someone else. Saying no to drugs and keeping Narcan available can literally help save someone's life.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you, Lilia. I mean, I feel like almost everyone knows someone that has had an experience with fentanyl.
Right.
I mean, it's such a tragedy. It's awful. It's heartbreaking that it's been happening all over the United States. I know we're repeating ourselves, but just be careful with what you ingest, especially if you're accepting something from someone else.
Yeah.
When you put all of this together, safety is not all about fear. It's about awareness and preparation. And respect.
Yeah, and respect for yourself, respect for others, and respect for the space you share with everyone around you. We need so much more love and light into the world.
Yes, more love, but also a lot more knowledge.
Facts.
So if there is one takeaway from this segment, it is this: look up, be aware, and look out for each other.
Right, because safety is community.
Yeah. So that feels like a good place to go ahead and pause.
Yeah, and when we come back, we are talking to ACC's Police Chief, Gizette Disher, where we will continue to talk about public safety through the lens of a police officer.
University transfer doesn't have to be complicated or uncertain. With ACC's Bats to Cats track, rubber bats can start here and finish strong at Texas State with guaranteed pathways. 37-degree pathways means you can choose the major you want and start earning the college credits you need. Find your path in business, pioneer new frontiers in STEM, advocate for others in the humanities and public service, or define the culture through creative arts and media. No matter your passion, you can find your future with Bats to Cats. Many programs are even available at Texas State's Round Rock campus, making it easier for Central Texas students to stay close to home while earning a bachelor's degree. Through guided pathways and coordinated advising from both ACC and Texas State, you'll know exactly which classes to take, helping you stay on track and avoid wasted time or money. And by starting at ACC, you're already saving thousands in tuition. Even your Texas State application is free with Bats to Cats. So get started today at austincc.edu/batstocats.
Our guest today is ACC Chief of Police Gizette Disher, who is responsible for overseeing a team of 94 commissioned officers and 20 professional staff at the college. She handles all public safety operations across the district's campuses, bringing strategic leadership, operational oversight, and emergency preparedness to the role.
Chief Disher came to ACC last August from the Austin Police Department, where she served as an assistant chief overseeing the Special Victims Bureau. Before that, she led divisions in patrol, recruiting, training, emergency management, and major crimes. She was also APD's first executive lieutenant appointed as Community Engagement Coordinator to the Chief's office. She's been in this business for 29 years. Welcome to the show, Chief Disher, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Why did you choose law enforcement out of all things?
So the funny thing is my parents are immigrants. They came to this country from Panama in Central America.
Wow.
And so they met in New York City as like in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And then my dad joined the military, and my brother and I were born in New York City. And then my dad was stationed in Fort Hood. And then at 6 years old, we moved to Texas. We didn't know anybody. We didn't have any family here. We left my grandmother back in New York and just grew up here, went to school here, went to Austin High School. And then I actually started here at ACC back in 1989. when the Northridge campus was brand new. And so I was, back then they called them clerks. Now they call them admins. And so I was an admin, and I did that for 3 years. And then I started my career in law enforcement. I actually started working at the Travis County Sheriff's Department.
Wow.
And I stayed there for 3 years. And then I went to the Austin Police Department in July of 1995.
Wow.
And that's how my career in law enforcement started. And I just worked throughout APD. I was on patrol in Central East Austin. And then I just worked in different departments. And I always loved giving back to the community. So while I was a patrol officer, I became a community engagement liaison officer. They call them district representatives.
Yeah.
And I just started just working as a district rep, and then I decided, let me start promoting through the ranks.
Yeah.
And then I actually got my bachelor's degree. I was on that 20-year plan. Got my bachelor's degree in 2005, and then just started promoting through the ranks at Austin Police Department.
Let's talk a little bit about police training.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was it like going through that? Like, have you ever felt like a brave person, or did you have to learn some of that through training?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, when I was at the sheriff's office and I told all my peers I was going to Austin Police Department, they were shocked because they were like, "You're so nice, you're so quiet. How are you going to go arrest people?" And so I think deep down I've always been brave.
Yeah.
But I think taking this chance and really going out there and patrolling the streets of Austin, I didn't know much about Austin besides where I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, so when they put me in East Austin, it was a learning experience. I learned a lot. I would get my hair done in East Austin, but I didn't know much about Austin, you know, per se. And so I just, you know, kind of just learned. I grew up in the department. I was 23 years old when I started. And so I learned a lot of lessons, and just learned about people in general, you know, people that call the police and people have interactions with the police. So I've learned a lot over my 29-year career.
Wow.
But yeah, the academy prepared me. It was 6 months, and I've never held a gun in my life. I never shot a gun.
Wow.
And so when I went to the academy, they taught me how to, you know, shoot a gun and everything like that. So yeah, it was a good experience.
And in your own words, what's your best and worst part about training?
The best part was putting everything together when they taught us how to, you know, they taught us the penal code, which is the state laws, and then we had to go do they call them practicals and scenarios, and we'd have to, you know, incorporate the scenarios, and so just to see if we learned something, because it's very difficult. You got to learn a lot. You got to learn, you know, when can you arrest somebody? When can you go in somebody's house?
Right.
And also on top of that, our policies is called general orders.
Yeah.
And so we had to follow policies, all that, you know, incorporated. So that was a fun part. The worst part was the running.
Oh.
I'm not a long. I'm not a long distance. I do work out, but I'm not a long distance runner. I was not very strong. But we were a team. My cadet class, to this day, we're still considered like family. There's only 26 of us in the class. And so we came together and we helped each other out, because the premise of the academy is to teach you that I am my brother's keeper. And so it's instilled in you when you first start. And so I really learned, like, we take care of each other in this profession. So yeah, running was not my favorite.
Not that running part.
Yeah.
But working your way up the ladder at APD to ACC, can you talk about some of the challenges you faced and how you overcame them?
It's a great question. And so I've been very fortunate. I didn't have a lot of challenges. I think my biggest challenges was the promotional exam, because, you know, we all know our limitations. I'm studying. I have to study months in advance. So at APD, when you promote through the ranks, you have to take promotional exams. And so I failed the first one, detective, but after that, I passed all the other tests. And so the rank structure is you're a patrol officer, then after a couple years, you become a detective, you pass the test. So I became a detective, worked in major crimes, and then after that, I promoted to sergeant, and then after that, it's lieutenant. And then I became a commander. Challenges really is when you're a woman, people always challenge you. People always question you that, can they really lead this department? And so when I was appointed as an assistant chief by Chief Joseph Jacone, you know, I was nervous, and my husband said, you know, you can do it. You can do this job. It's like promoting through the ranks, and I did, but it's just making people understand that I can do this job too. Just because I'm a woman, I'm no less than a man. You know, sometimes people think we're emotional, we lead by emotion, but no, I'm just as strong as my male counterparts.
Right.
Exactly.
That's good.
Thank you.
And we're going to shift a little bit more to the relationship between police and communities. So what are your best strategies that you have found most effective for building trust between law enforcement and the communities that have historically felt over-policed or underserved?
It's important to listen. listen as a police officer, and understand your community that you're working in.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand the culture, the history, you're going to make some mistakes. And so I've learned throughout my 29-year career, it's about having honest feedback, positive communication, and allowing the community to have a voice.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you go to a call, people just want to be heard. And so it's not about us asserting our authority. It's about just listening. Sometimes people just want to be heard. And so that the strategies I use is getting my officers here at ACC more involved in the student, faculty, staff, walking around, shaking hands, and just being more approachable. Have that appearance of, you can come to me. I'm not always about arresting people. It's funny, you know, sometimes when I'm out and about in my uniform, sometimes it kind of unnerves me when parents say, if you don't behave, she's going to arrest you. I don't like that, because we're not here only to arrest folks. We're here to build that relationship. So I like for my officers here at ACC to be visible, present. You know, we're not only here to fight crime, but we're here to build that relationship, because a student may be having a bad day and we may be the one person to save them from even doing something to themselves or somebody else. And so I want them to be approachable, get involved. It's very important to get involved. I've been on a couple of nonprofit boards, and I think it's important to see not only my lens, but also other people's lens. And so getting involved and just having that honest transparency is important as an officer, you know, just being honest about what we do and how we handle our business. There's no secrets in this profession.
Yeah, that's a good.
I love that. Amazing. So what changes have you implemented or hope to implement to make policing more inclusive and reflective of the communities that you serve?
So here at the different campuses, sometimes we have issues of people experiencing homelessness. And so most recently, I had one of my sergeants, I said, you're going to be my homeless liaison person, which means that he will be able to just provide resources. All the officers have the resources, but he'll be the main point of contact to, if someone comes to the campus and they don't have anywhere to go, provide them the resources, like say, hey, if you need a shower, go to the Gus Garcia Rec Center, or here's, you know, a social worker you can get in contact with at the marshalling yard. And then also, I would love to have I'm working on getting a victim services manager, because any crime that occurs on a campus, someone needs an advocate. And so I'm working on getting a victim services manager to work with the police department to be able to be that liaison with the college and the police department.
Wow.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very helpful and needed.
Yeah. And could you give students our age some advice about how to stay safe when we're out and about in our communities?
Yes, it's important. The number one thing is that cell phone. I think that's the worst thing they ever invented. Coming from my generation, the phone, people, I watch people walk around and their heads are buried in their phone. You got to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of who's approaching you, and really just stay off your phone and just not be so glued to that phone. I think the cell phone's the number one thing that I think causes people not to be aware of their surroundings. But and also just if you see something, say something. You know, a lot of times people will see something and they're like, well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to, you know, and it's important. If you, even any inkling, we all have that sixth sense in our stomach, say something, you know, and speak up.
Our show is all about being bold. Could you talk about a bold moment that comes to mind from your life or from your career?
Becoming a police officer is very bold because it's a male-dominated profession. And so I think it's a bold step just to get into this profession, knowing, you know, the experiences a lot of people of color have gone through with policing. But I see it on the other side that it is my duty to make sure I educate folks that I work with in this profession to say, hey, I'm a Black woman, but let me tell you, this is my perspective. This is why you see this and this, you know, when we go to a certain house. And so I think it's a blessing because I'm able to share my story and my lens to those who are not familiar with someone of color, you know. And so, but the bold move is just becoming, you know, getting into policing. I think it's really bold.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
And do you have any advice or insight on those who want to be a police officer or in the criminal justice department?
I say go for it, but be your authentic self. Don't change who you are. If you believe in certain things, believe in it, but say it in a professional way, but always stay true to who you are. And tell your story, because people always, you know, people want to hear your story. So just be authentic and be who you are.
And then from your perspective as an officer, what do you wish the community knew more about when it comes to policing?
That we're human. We're human just like they are. We do make mistakes, like any profession. but we're mothers, sisters, grandmothers, husbands, whatever, so we are human too, and we do make mistakes. And so the profession has come a long way. And I think give us grace because we learn, when things happen, we take from those incidences and we learn from them. But we're human like anybody else, and we do make our mistakes, but we learn from them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
Chief Disher, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate everything that you have done and still do, keeping the community safe throughout your career.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
Y'all, this has been an intense episode, but definitely one we find very important. When streets, schools, and public spaces are safe, people can focus on enjoying their community.
Yep, very true. And Chief Disher is amazing. I mean, what a great conversation.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to hear her perspective as an officer.
Right.
And y'all, public safety is not just about law enforcement. It involves residents, organizations, and local leaders working together, which fosters a sense of belonging.
Exactly, I agree. And Precious, what are some positive insights that you have found during this episode?
Well, since you asked, ACC has a green pass. Students can ride the buses and trains for free.
Talking about vroom.
Protect yourself and protect others in your community by being alert and informed.
Keep them eyes open.
Pay attention to detail no matter what you're doing.
Check it, girl.
Public safety involves all of us, not just first responders.
Hashtag facts.
You too can channel your inner Sandra Bullock and have your miscongeniality moment by taking a self-defense class and showing off those moves if they're ever needed.
Sandra Bullock, yeah. I love those movies growing up.
Yes, remembering these tips can help protect you wherever you are at any time.
Yes, agreed. Always pay attention to where you are and who you're with. Look for details surrounding you and always take an account and know your exits. And speaking of exits, this wraps up our show for today and the rest of this season. We thank you so much for taking the time out of your days to watch these episodes. We appreciate y'all so, so much.
Absolutely, and we really hope a lot of our opinions and thoughts have stick with you because we love talking to you guys through these episodes.
Right, and even though we might not be your hosts for next season, we really do hope that you stay tuned to The Bold Way because there's gonna be so much more information coming at you, more advice that we can give to you. So stay tuned, guys.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
Bye.